Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and I have actually two clips from Judge Bronlich. Same case, and it's a wild custody battle. Mom is demanding that her 12-year-old son come home to her. He doesn't want to. He definitely does not want to be around his mother. And it becomes very evident as you watch this. And Dad is trying to fight for the son. Judge Bronlich is not listening to Dad at all, completely tunes him out. Whatever Dad's saying, it means absolutely nothing to this judge, which I think is really odd. And I think it's really odd that Mom is demanding this when he doesn't want to be with her. She wants him and he doesn't want her. And if forced to come home, do you think that's going to be a good time for him? Do you think the child is going to be able to have a comfortable home life with that? Will you guys watch this and tell me what you guys think?
Court is now in session. Copy page 2, Hope Smith versus David Cieslak.
For the record, this matter is before the court. And the defendant's motion for temporary possession of the minor child. And this hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Present is Attorney Kirsten Nemec representing the plaintiff mother, Hope Smith. Ms. Smith is present. In addition, Attorney Jason Kaczmarek is present representing the defendant father, David Cieslak. Mr. Cieslak is present with Mr. Kaczmarek. And for the record, the court would note that an ex parte order was entered by Judge Lohmeyer in this court's absence on April 12th, 2024, awarding defendant father temporary possession of the 12-year-old child of the parties, reserving plaintiff mother's parenting time. Parties have conferred this morning with the front of the court. It was by the court to find recommendation that the ex parte order shall be vacated. The child needs to be returned to school today immediately. The minor child shall have his phone at all times. The child shall have reasonable phone contact with both parents. Neither party shall interfere with communication between the child and the other parent. And this recommendation resolves all parenting time complaints through today. So presumably the prior parenting time order would continue, namely father's parenting time in the first 3 weekends of the month, Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, and the fourth week he has parenting time Wednesday at 6 to Friday at 6. That's the court's recollection. Ms. Nemec, is this recommendation agreeable with your client this morning?
It is, Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Kaczmarek, is this recommendation agreeable with your client?
It's not.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Kaczmarek.
I mean, according to the police report, Leon states, well, he's been pretty consistent that he was in an argument with his mother in a vehicle, that he was hit and kicked out of the car by her, by Suter by Kroger, and had to walk to his mother's house. He told this both to my client and the police, and mother admits that she did kick him out of the car to make him walk to cool off. There's disagreement on the location where he was let out of the vehicle. There's also disagreement that he actually got hit. I met with Leon myself. He was pretty descriptive. He wants to be heard, Judge. I know he'd love to talk to you. I know that probably isn't going to happen, but he wants his voice to be heard. He wants to tell the front of the court. He wants to tell somebody how he feels. So after he was kicked out of the vehicle, he did walk to his mother's house, where they continued to argue. He tried to call for help to his dad. The phone was taken by his grandfather mid-recording, so he'd actually dialed the phone. His father's voicemail answered, and there was a voicemail recording where he was yelling, "You know what you did?" He said he didn't want to call his dad, that he just wanted to tell dad what happened. Grandfather took his phone, and grandfather, who lives with his mother, kind of said, wah, you had to walk home, big deal. So after that, Leon, the minor child, says that they told him, they said, get the out of my house, is what he says. He left the home. And he was yelling, you can't stop me, because mom was trying to get him back. He ends up walking to the Dollar General, which allegedly is about 2 miles away, called his father, pick him up.
Mr.
Meantime-
Kaczmarek, the court, Mr. Kaczmarek, rest assured the court has read every piece of pleading
Yes.
that has been filed.
Yes. I understand. So again, aside from that, I did talk to Leanne today. He's been pretty consistent. He's not comfortable at his mom's house right now, he tells me. He just wants to be able to tell that to somebody who can express that to the court. And I know I'm probably not the right person, being dad's attorney, but he would like to speak to somebody. He would like, I asked him what kind of parenting time he'd like with his mom. He said he didn't know. But I asked him, he said he'd like a therapist. When I discussed that would be an option, he wants therapeutic parenting time so he can start to reconnect with his mom on a different emotional level, because he says that they don't know how to speak anymore together. He just feels kind of overwhelmed at that house with grandfather and grandmother and mother there, that and mom's at his school. He's not comfortable, and he just wants to be able to express that. That's what he wants. So that's what I'm asking for, Judge.
All right. All right, and if, Mr. Pratt, do you think there's any merit in you interviewing this minor child? Again, before I get an answer to that, we have a 12-year-old boy that's not going to drive the bus, and the court believes, Mr. Cieslak, you're the father. You should tell your son he needs to respect his mother. It's no different than when he's disrespecting you and ignoring you, doesn't want to see you. The other parent needs to talk to that child and set that child straight. It's a 12-year-old. He needs his mother, and you have a big part in this whole issue here by reinforcing support for his relationship with his mother. That is huge. So that's this is important as counseling. Now, is the child right now in counseling? Have the parties identified a therapist or counselor to repair this relationship between mom and child?
Your Honor, the client has been in counseling since 2021, but he has not attended since he's been in Mr. Cieslak's possession since March 26th.
And I know that I did talk to Ms. Smith, and I told her to make the appointment, and my client would get him there, and I've not received that there's any notification of an appointment. But Judge, the problem with Leon is—
Hold on. Let's get back in counseling. Who's got to schedule the counseling, and whose time will be on, dad's or mom's?
I guess, Your Honor, that's dependent on what the court decides. Previously, it was on mom's time. Mom will go ahead and schedule that and get that handled, but Leon has been with dad all of this time. Dad has the contact information and is able to schedule counseling appointments and has chosen not to.
Okay.
I've been asking if there's been an appointment. There's been no appointment scheduled. So when I did talk to Ms. Smith prior to Ms. Nemeth coming in, she had said that there was no future appointments made. And I said, well, if there is, I'll make sure my client gets him there. And I haven't been notified there's any appointment set, and neither is my client.
Mr. Cieslak had temporary possession of this child, and he had the information. So I don't understand why Mr. Cieslak couldn't have scheduled that appointment.
Mr. Cieslak may speak for himself.
Okay, the counseling is presumably during the week, correct? Dad's spending time is primarily the weekends, except the fourth week of the month. So it's probably better if mom's probably in a better position to reschedule those therapy sessions. So the courts can order that therapy for the minor child forthwith continue. What about school? He's not been in school?
Your Honor, he's not at school today. I was informed.
That's correct. He met with me in my office today, and according to Leon, he didn't want to go to school not knowing what was going to happen at the end of the day. He was kind of refusing to go to school because he wanted to speak to me. He wanted to speak to the court, and I told him that's not possible. He's sitting outside my office. But I know he wanted to know what the plans were. He didn't, because he's uncomfortable.
The plan is he's going to go to school today. Mr. Cieslak, you get him to school immediately when we get done here. Should not be out of school today. And he's been out of school for the last couple of weeks?
He's missed 9 days since Mr. Cieslak, since the ex parte was entered. He's missed 9 days of school.
Is that correct,
That
Mr. Kaczmarek?
Not since the ex parte was entered.
That does not include the 1 week of spring break, which was also during that time frame. So outside of spring break, he missed an additional 9 days of school.
Well, the problem with like Leon is concerned, this will happen. He's alleging domestic violence, and again, just the mom's kind of abandoned him, and he's being called a liar. So Leon he's upset. He sees his mom in 3 hours of school every day. He's uncomfortable. He just and he's actually texted dad from the school saying that the administration does nothing to prevent her from walking around. He's uncomfortable. He's uncomfortable.
Your
She's
Honor,
she's in his presence.
I object to the characterization that Ms. Smith has somehow abandoned this child. Ms. Smith disciplined this child because of the way that he was speaking to her and the statements that he was making in the car. She disciplined this child. Looking back, she regrets how she chose to discipline him, but in that moment, asking him to vacate the vehicle was the only thing she could think to do. She did not hit him. No one forced him to leave the home subsequent to his returning. She has not abandoned this child. Additionally, Ms. Smith she's not a teacher. She's an aide at his school, and she's an aide in 2 classes that Leon is in. So this characterization that she's bothering him, around him all day, and she's abandoned him and abused him, it's all absolutely incorrect. There are no CPS investigations. There are no criminal charges.
Mr. LaPrade, is there any value from your standpoint in interviewing this child?
Your Honor, we will if the court directs us to. I'm just not sure what, I mean, based off of Mr. Kazmarik's representation, I could almost tell you what the child's going to say, whether it be right or wrong.
Yep, I would agree. All right, well, obviously the court, Mr. Cizak, poor choice on your part not sending him to school. His number one job in life right now is to go to school. And you as a parent need to make sure he goes to school. That applies to both mom and dad. So the court's going to adopt this recommendation. You shall get him to school immediately after lunch today. You go to school every day, and you need to have a talk with your son. That's more beneficial to him than the court talking to him, in front of the court talking to him. You need to talk to him and tell him that he needs to respect his mother, just like he needs to respect you as his father. He's a minor child. He's 12 years old. I understand he's going through emotional problems, but his number one obligation is to go to school, not miss school. So get him to school this afternoon and to tell him that
Number one obligation
pick
is
him up after school.
Facility that he can feel comfortable in, actually learn. If his mother is breathing down his neck and he can't focus
You're
on his
breaking up,
studies,
Mr. Cizak. We can't hear anything you're saying. You're breaking up.
I'm sorry. His number one response.
Mr. Kazmarek, do you want a custody hearing date, Mr. Kazmarek? Is that what we're going to do? If you're going to testify, do you want to hear custody hearing date?
I just got reprimanded and I can't even say it. Probably good, yes.
All right. Put the device in front of Mr. Cizak and the court will hear him out.
Your Honor, on December 23rd of this last year, my son had an appendix rupture, and we were in the hospital, all 3 of us together, for the first time as a family in 6 years. I was getting her blankets and coffee. We were co-parenting our child. When she needs me, I am there. When she does not want me, she alienates me and tells everybody at his school administration that I'm abusive. His counselors down in Sylvania, Ohio, believe that I'm abusive and will not even speak to me. She has done everything that she can to convince everybody that in our life that I'm an abusive father. Leon comes to me and he says, Dad, why does everybody think you beat me? Dad, why don't you pay your child support? Dad, why isn't your child support paid? Oh, well, son, I'm on unemployment. COVID hit hard. I'm behind on some stuff, but I'm back to work now. My stuff's getting garnished. Here's that. Here's my stuff. Well, Your Honor, pretty much what's going on is I tell my son that everything is circles. Everything is circles in life, and it's going to come back for you. The rule of 10. What good you put out is coming back for you times 10. What bad you put out is coming back for you times 10. It's going to be here. Like, I teach my son these things, and his mother does what she can. It does what she can all the time to alienate me. You need to speak to my son. It's not a recommendation. It is a need. Leon needs to be heard by the family courts and by you guys. He really does. And I'm sorry that I look crazy and eccentric defending my son. I know that I look insane, but the entire time we're arguing about school that she's in 3 of his classes with. Listen to what my son has to say about where he is and then tell me why I seem insane. Talk to my son, not us. If you have my son's best interest at heart, I promise you, school is it's his only priority. It is in his circle. Your circle is growing into the person that you are going to be and being happy, learning who you are, and being who you are so you know what you want in life. I tell him these things. What she says that I say to my son, this is our adult relationship and what I explained to him. Your mom and I can't get along, and I'm sorry about that. But that doesn't mean that you talk to her the way that I talk to her. And she tells people I'm abusive and I lose my temper with her because she tells people that I hit you, that are his school administrators, are his counselors. His counselors are under the assumption his dad is abusive. Of course, they're not going to speak to me when I go down there to what is Helping Hands of Sylvania, Ohio. And I walk in and they look at me like I'm an abusive male before I even step in. It isn't fair. It's narcissistic. She's been lying to my son since he was a child, since he was a small, and it's her house of cards is blown up, and it is not my fault. It's not his. And then when she wanted to beat him and drop him off on Suter, they were arguing over child support. Why do you want to go to your dad's? Why do you even want to go over there? He doesn't even
Cezak, were
care.
you there? Mr. Cezak,
No,
did you hear
sir, I
firsthand
was
that
not, but
discussion?
I understand. My son is extremely articulate. My son is
I
extremely
understand.
intelligent. And
He-
I know
He's telling
my
you what
son.
you want to hear. He's telling mom what she wants to hear. But what the court's going to do, the court's going to obviously conflict. The court's going to add to this recommendation. The court's going to order the both of you to complete a highconflictsolutions.com workshop. And both of you do that
Thank
and
you.
provide the court with a 100-word statement in terms of what you learned from that class. And we'll set this for review in about 30 days. But in the meantime, the court that's going to adopt this recommendation. The expired charge to be vacated. The child's going to be returned to school today. The mom's parenting time is restored. And Dad, you have to have that conversation with them. And if in fact, if there's still issues 30 days from now, the court will set this for a trial. You want a full-blown custody trial, and that's going to create a lot of issues for the relationship between you and his mother and the child. I can assure you that. So I want you to both, it's called the High Conflict Solutions, plural.com workshop. It's an online workshop. It'll help you address some of these difficult times. So you had to have the discussion with your son. Let him know he's going back with his mom. If
I
in
will
fact
100%.
there's
I'm
issues in
sorry.
30 days, we will set a custody hearing date.
Judge, I know that one of the questions my client did ask me is, can Leon have his own attorney? And I know this court doesn't normally do that, but I'm asking if an LGAL can be appointed, maybe the cost be split between the parties. That is a
If the
request.
two of you agree upon a JL, the court has no objection to that. But again, the parties will have to share the cost equally or proportion to their respective incomes. The court does not pay for that. So we're going to give you a date to come back for review about June 11th or June 12th. That'll give both of you time to complete the workshop and provide the court with a 100-word essay of what you learned from the class. We have June 11th at 3 o'clock or June 12th at 2:45.
June
Either's fine.
12th at 2:45 would work better for me, Your Honor. Mr. Kaczmarek,
Either.
either one.
All right, we'll set this for review, Mr. Perhaps you could put in there, the court will review these issues on June 12th at 2:45 p.m. Again, the court's can order to get the child immediately back to not only school, but also counseling. So, Ms. Smith, you should, when you get done here, get that appointment scheduled ASAP.
Okay.
Can we have the child do a preference interview? Is that a possibility?
We're gonna wait, and the court agrees with Mr. Pratt. At this point in time, he's gonna say, I want to live with Dad. I'm sure he's gonna say that. But I think if he has if Dad has a genuine discussion with his son saying, you've got to respect your mother. No, he also has to respect his father. I'd say the same thing if he was having issues with his dad right now. He's got to respect his father. He's got one mother and one father in this world. He needs his mother. And so I think that'll go a long way to restoring the parents' relationship between mother and son. But the counseling is critical for the child.
Violence. We don't even care about domestic violence allegations. We don't, there's nothing. If I was beating my son because I had to pay child support to his mom and dropped him off on the street.
There should be no discussion about this case with the child.
And yet she's discussing him and then hitting him
Not
over
talk
it.
about child support, no discussion about
She's discussing it with him and then hitting him over it.
Your Honor, may I respond to some of the things that Mr. Cieslak is saying?
Have Hope respond.
I attached to my motion several instances where Mr. Cieslak stated affirmatively to Ms. Smith in writing that he had shared pleadings, orders, and discussed this case with Leon, and has stated that he believes that Leon deserves to know that Ms. Smith is a whore. He sat in front of Leon on both Thursday and Friday of last week, calling Ms. Smith names that I will not repeat on this record. He calls her a whore repeatedly, tells her to f off in front of the child. And while he did on Friday start berating Miss Smith with disgusting language, when the minor child joined in on Mr. Cieslak's abuse, he did state to the child, don't talk to her the way that I'm talking to her, or which is
Because it's not in his circle. How I speak to his mom.
That's,
and our
there's nothing more
relationship with him and his
damaging to a
mom.
minor child than either party to talk with the child in that regard about the other parent. So no disparaging remarks about the other parent with the child, and there should be no discussion of this case or any aspect of this case with the child. You simply
My son comes up to me
tell
and
the
asks
child
me
that
questions.
he's
I'm
going to
not
go
gonna
back to
lie.
mom. All right.
He's gonna see that
We're
in
done.
records when he's an adult, just like I did. He's
Thank you,
gonna see
Mr.
that,
Pratt. You can
Your Honor.
revise the recommendation. And
Yes,
this
sir, it's in
matter
your
is
queue.
concluded. We see everyone back June 12th, 2:45.
thank you, Your Honor.
Get Leon back to school, Mr. Cieslak.
Hope you can pick him up from school today, okay?
He actually gets out at 11 o'clock today. Today was a half day. And also tomorrow is a half day. They have a school-wide show
Okay.
that
So
they are.
Does
Let's get
Does
off.
Mr. Cieslak know that? Mr. Niebuhr, you want to call Mr. Kazmarek and let him know there's no school this afternoon? I'm just hearing that for the first time.
Right, I'm just hearing it for the first time, Your Honor, too. So we're going to have to figure out how, hold on, Hope. We're going to have to figure out how to facilitate getting Leon from Mr. Cieslak to Miss Smith. I will reach out to Mr. Kazmarek and
Okay,
get,
and if there's an issue, you can come back this afternoon if the court needs to address that. I was
Okay.
not aware of that.
okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Okay, I hope you can go ahead and log off. I'll call you.
Court is recalling top of page 2, Hope Smith versus David Cieslak.
This matter was on the court's docket this morning. The parties have returned apparently to address an issue that remains outstanding that needs to be addressed. Again, the parties are appearing via Zoom. Once again, Attorney Kirsten Nemec with the plaintiff Mother Hope Smith and Attorney Jason Kazmarek with defendant Father David Cieslak. Mr. Nemec, Mr. Kazmarek.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Was there another issue that the court needed to address this afternoon?
Yes, Your Honor. If you'll recall from this morning, neither Mr. Kazmarek nor I were aware that Leon had only a half day of school today. I believe we both intended that Ms. Smith would just pick Leon up from school. And when we found out that that was not an option, we did attempt to reach an agreement regarding exchange today. We've been unable to do that. Mr. Cieslak did offer Ms. Smith to come pick Leon up from his home at 6 o'clock tonight. I declined that on behalf of my client because I don't believe that it is safe for her to go to Mr. Cieslak's home. We requested that they exchange at the police department as they normally do. And, you know, we're open to times, but we would like it to occur at the police department. We
What
would
police
also,
department?
I believe they use the Erie PD. Is that correct, Hope?
Yeah, Erie Township, I believe. Yeah.
Well, certainly any exchanges should be at that location, this location, Erie Police Department. So the only issue being is the time. And now apparently the child does not have school, only half day tomorrow as well.
That is
Correct.
correct.
Okay.
It's a
What
fucking shame
time
because
is
my
best?
son doesn't feel safe going to his mom's and she wants to hide behind her fear. My son is literally laying here because he was crying when I got home and now he wants to sleep because he hasn't
Okay,
slept in weeks.
stop. Okay, 3 o'clock, Mr. Cieslak. I'm not gonna hear.
Yeah,
you're
I'll
not
be
gonna
there
hear
at 3,
that
Your
kind of
Honorable
language in
Judge.
this
My
court,
son's
sir.
exact words
Mute
were, "This
Mr.
man's been
Cieslak, please.
dictating my
Mute
life."
him. Mr. Kazmarek, you need to get control of your client, Mr. Kazmarek. He's not gonna, the court will not permit that foul language, especially if his son is in the room. So Mr. Cieslak is ordered to bring the child to the Erie Police Department at 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's 1 hour from now.
Your Honor, if I may, Ms. Smith has blocked Mr. Cieslak from communicating with her via text.
It's not
We've
unsafe. My
repeatedly
son is
asked-
unsafe. I'll be there at 3.
repeatedly asked
Yourself,
that the
Kristen.
parties use app close. Could we please include in the order that the parties use app close?
I had suggested, I know Miss Hope had blocked him. And I suggested they communicate together because I didn't want to have time to deal with this all day. I have a lot of other things going on. So my client suggested 6. I called Ms. Nemec 3 times to try to work out something. She didn't answer. My client suggested 6 o'clock. He had left. So I put that in there. She's
Right.
declined. I said, why don't the parties communicate? Because she has blocked him and she declined that as well. So that's where we're at.
So all
tried to
communication should be by app close and only regarding the minor child. And the parties shall meet at 3 o'clock to facilitate the exchange. Obviously, dad's parenting time starts this Friday at 6, is that correct?
That's correct.
I know from experience, every one of my clients has trouble connecting on app close. I've never had it'd be a smooth transition. So I don't know if they can work together to do that, but it's not an easy thing to connect the 2 clients. Every single time I've had app close used, but once they connect, it's fine, but getting connected has been difficult.
Okay.
Every
I was
time
not aware
we
of that. I've not heard that before, Mr. Kazmarek, so I was not aware it's difficult.
And I had
to
actually had
connect.
this issue just at 1 o'clock hearing. With the referee, I had the
You
same
haven't heard
problem
Leon either.
where
Right.
mom and dad are
I've
both on it. They weren't connecting, and we're trying to figure out how with the referee. And it was just it can be frustrating connecting themselves.
The pseudo-intellectual rhetorical babble of what's best for my son used is unacceptable. Continue to mute me, but I'm a father and my son is being abused and you're more concerned about school. Continue to, but my son is being abused and you are more concerned and her safety. Unacceptable.
Appear if he continues this. All right, 3 o'clock, 1 hour
Continue to
from
make
now.
deliberations without listening to my.
Your Honor, would it be possible for friend of the court to, as soon as you've signed that order, email it to myself and Mr. Kazmarek so that Ms. Smith has that when she appears?
You can, you've not met with the front of the court today, so you can prepare an order, email it over here and the court will sign it.
I'm not going to get her, but I will
I'm sorry.
speak. Continue to mute me, but I will speak on his best interest. I don't care. I will continue to unmute you, Your Honor, or unmute myself. This is my son's safety. This isn't his school. This is my son's safety. And you're going to be concerned about her safety?
You can call Protective Services, Mr. Cieslak. You got an attorney that's very.
I'm going through Toledo. They're investigating her in Toledo still. It's a misdemeanor of domestic violence. They aren't moving. They don't have a detective. It's slow. I've been down there every day.
David, hang on. To that end, Judge, Miss Hope did speak with Leon via Zoom. Miss Nemec and I were on that Zoom call. I can tell you after that, Mr. Cieslak was out of the room. He was outside. He was in his vehicle. I did speak to Leon afterwards, and he was pretty upset. I mean, I will acknowledge that, and I understand the court's order. I understand what's going on, and I try to console Leon a bit. He is upset. He's unhappy. He doesn't.
His exact words, Your Honor, was Judge Bronlick has dictated my life for 8 years, and I have never even met the man.
Right. If the
His
parents
exact words.
if the parents cannot raise their child, then the court's responsibility is to raise that child. and make
Your
those
Honor, you
decisions.
don't have to
The
have
court
that
will continue to do
responsibility, sir.
so.
My son
Parties
is safe
cannot
here.
agree.
Everything
Mr.
that woman has told you
Right.
is a lie about me, and I
Please
know.
terminate this, please. Just terminate it. Okay, Mr. Nemec, you can prepare an order, send over to the court, unless Miss friend of the court can prepare your orders for you, but they're not involved this afternoon. So prepare the order, send it over. You can email it to Cindy, and I'll sign it, and we can sign it. You can come over and get 2 copies.
I will do that. Thank you, Your Honor.
I feel really bad for this child. And, maybe dad's coaching him along. I don't know. It doesn't sound that way, or he's not being accused of that anyway. But I think it's odd that mom is demanding this when he does not want to be there. And there's nothing good can come of the court forcing this child to be with somebody he doesn't want to be with. That nothing good can come of that. He's going to resent his mom for the rest of his life because of this. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong. But I don't think this is a good plan. And I wish Judge Bronlich would listen to the child. He won't. He will not speak with the child at all, which I think is wrong. In Huron County with Judge Prill, he will talk to the child himself. So I don't know why Judge Bronlich can't, but I guess different jurisdiction, different rules. It's still the state of Michigan. I just feel bad for this child. Nothing good is going to come of this. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.